ENTP is the agent of chaos, the relentless debater, the intellectual trickster. They are the ones who live to challenge, to question, to push the boundaries just to see what happens. If life is a game, they're here to play it, to break it, to rewrite the rules twice. But with that comes the stereotype. The obnoxious contrarian, the professional troll, the friend who argues for fun and leaves a trail of destruction in their wake. ENTPs are often seen as disruptive, immature, and incapable of taking anything seriously. They poke holes in every idea, not because they disagree, but because they can. They stir the pot, they test authority, and make chaos their personal playground, leaving structure and predictability for the weak. There's also the classic resistance to rules. Obligations are oppressive, and tradition is outdated. A straightforward answer? Why give one when you can answer with a riddle, a joke, or a 5-hour TED talk on why the question itself is flawed? They'd rather chase the next great idea, play devil's advocate, or turn a casual conversation into a philosophical war zone. But where does it all come from? What unconscious forces are really driving the stereotype of the chaotic, trollish ENTP? Their dominant function, extroverted intuition, or NE, in my theory of traumas is characterized by the trauma of fight or flight. So people who contend with this trauma, they tend to be chaotic due to the rapid firing of the neurons caused by a life or death situation. This means that ENTPs don't just choose chaos, they are wired for it. Their minds are constantly scanning for new possibilities, new escape routes. This trauma of fight or flight keeps their thoughts moving at a high speed, making them restless, reactive, and endlessly curious. Their rapid-fire ideas, their constant debates, their tendency to poke at authority and challenge the status quo, it all stems from a brain that has been conditioned to, unconsciously, never stop moving. ENTPs often use humor as a primary tool for charm, deflection, and influence. They are naturally quick-witted and enjoy engaging with others playfully and provocatively. That is the fight side of the fight or flight showing itself. So ENTPs are restless because their unconscious trauma urges them to engage, to fight, normally with sarcasm, with an edge, mocking, or provocation, challenging authority or rules and dominating the conversation. And why do they fight with words and not physically? Because of their secondary function of introverted thinking, or TI. So introverted thinking in my theory of traumas is characterized by the trauma of injustice. So people who contend with this trauma, they subscribe to the belief that errors or ambiguities in thought and communication will lead to unjust outcomes. So they strive for clarity above all. So they develop a meticulous need for precision, striving to ensure that every idea, statement, or system is as accurate and logically sound as possible. Even minor inaccuracies can feel significant, as they may be perceived as the seeds of misunderstanding and ultimately unjust outcomes. Injustice often stems from contradictory or confusing rules, behaviors, or expectations. In other words, TI is the same as the drive to impose logical consistency on the world. Authority figures in societal systems often play a role in perpetuating injustice, so ENTP's high TI manifests as a questioning, analytical mindset, constantly evaluating whether structures align with their internal sense of logic. So this explains their tendency to challenge established norms and rules that seem arbitrary or unjustified. They fight with their words because their dominant function, extroverted intuition, NE, and auxiliary function, introverted thinking, or TI, make them naturally verbal, mentally agile, and idea-driven rather than physically confrontational. So ENTPs are intellectual fighters. Their NE-TI combination thrives on debate, wit, and outmaneuvering others through logic, wordplay, and quick thinking. So language is their sword. Instead of fists, they use sarcasm, provocation, or restless argumentation as their weapons to assert dominance and challenge opponents. So their restlessness and need to engage come from an unconscious drive to overcome mortal fear, fight or flight, a psychological way of defeating that life-threatening situation. So their use of words to push people's buttons is an unconscious drive to fight, with words. We also need to understand that NE pushes them towards unconventional ideas and in different ways of thinking, which clashes with their less powerful aptitude for logic. So NE first, TI second. So they find themselves pondering unorthodox ideas and trying to make them fit into a logical framework. Due to the immense power of NE, because its dominant function, it makes it naturally exaggerated, they oftentimes need to test their own ideas with external sources to make sure their ideas are accurate and safe to include into their internal framework. And the way they do it is by poking others, by playing devil's advocate. So ENTPs, they take opposing stances just to see how well an idea holds under scrutiny. They may not even personally believe in the position they're arguing about, but will push it to test its logical structure or gauge how people react to it. So this makes them seem argumentative, but in reality, it's their way of exploring intellectual possibilities and refining their own understanding. So instead of directly asking, is this idea valid? They often provoke reactions by making bold, controversial, and humorous statements. By exaggerating ideas, teasing people, or highlighting contradictions, they can quickly identify flaws in logic, social norms, or authority structures. So their mockery is often strategic, aimed at forcing people to defend their views, which then helps ENTPs see the strengths and weaknesses in their own perspectives. So ENTPs don't just enjoy debating, they do, but they need it also to process their own thoughts. By bouncing ideas off others in a fast-paced back and forth exchange, they can quickly filter out weak or flawed arguments and refine the ones that have potential. So to some, this relentless debating can feel like provocation for its own sake, right? But for ENTPs, it's a necessary part of their intellectual process. People think ENTPs are just trolls because they constantly need external validation of their ideas, and that makes them appear like they're just stirring controversy just for attention, when in reality they are seeking clarity, understanding, and intellectual stimulation. Many people don't enjoy having their beliefs questioned or being provoked, so they may see ENTPs as troublemakers rather than intellectual explorers. They test their ideas through contradiction, provocation, and sarcasm, and this makes it seem like they're arguing just to argue. So the answer to the question if ENTPs are just trolls is absolutely not. They do have an invisible force that pushes them towards confrontation and trolling, but their main disposition is softened by TI, which shifts their aim towards exploration, refinement, and understanding. Yes, their approach could be a bit more nuanced, I know, but hey, I think it's a good thing having people testing structures, right? Because it's the only way we can confirm if they are solid, and if not, then improve them or make better ones, right? So, like I always say, understanding breeds acceptance. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. That will allow us to keep making more videos like this. For more related content, please click on one of the suggested videos. Thank you for watching.